What would you say has the most success? The high intent outreach or sort of personalised outreach?
Okay, great question. And again, we'll open this up to the floor. I'll give my 2 cents on it. I think with your mate, the one thing that I did hear was they were sold a dream, they've got into the dream, and the reality is a little bit different to what they expected. And that can be unnerving for anybody, especially if sales is new to them or a new environment. And I think the best thing to do at that point is ask them to remember, why did they want to get into this in the first place? What was that motivation? So for me, similarly, it was because I wanted to earn money, I wanted to travel, and I wanted to do something none of my family had done before. Those were my motivations. And every time I went into a new role, I reminded myself why I'm in that, right? When it comes to, a high volume or a strategic approach, it really depends on the product and the market, right? So if I give you an example of Zoom, we're using Zoom right now. It's a very small price point. So volume would most likely be the play because it's probably going to be a short sales cycle and anybody could use this, whether it's an organization or an individual. So that's where volume would come into it. But if it was a high value product like an ERP system, which could cost you north of 250K, that is most likely going to have to be a strategic approach rather than a volume based approach. But the other side of the fence, which I know where there are a lot of managers that will bang on about KPIs and you have to hit the KPIs and you have to hit the volume. And there's two sides to it from my point of view. By hitting the volume, they know that the rep is going to get the experience of eventually speaking to somebody. But it's like hitting 100 hotel doors and just waiting for the right one to open, but they will gain a lot of experience with it. But the other side of the coin is they could burn through a lot of content or data and burn out those contacts by taking that approach. So having something in between as an ex-manager is what works. So to give you an example, one company that I worked with, the VP of sales said they need to be doing 100 cold calls a day. And when I first heard, yeah, I spoke to somebody this morning that does 400 a day, right? I was coaching it this morning. Yeah, I know, but it works in their industry. But to give you some context, the VP says they need to be hitting 100 dials a day. And I'm like, why? And they said, well, because based on the data, we know that's what leads to success. So I said, okay, cool. So I went to go review some of the calls. And to be honest with you, team, most of them averaged anywhere between 30 seconds to a minute. So it kind of sounded like this. Hi, Kiani. My name's Neil from work. Okay, bye-bye. Hi, George. My name is from bye-bye. And 100 calls of that doesn't really get you anywhere. Where I then said, if we could do 30 to 40 calls a day where the prospects are researched, you've done a little bit of the intent data review, you've looked at the personas, you've looked at their company website. And we found that by reducing the number of calls I had to do, but the time spent on finding those right leads, most calls were averaging between 3 to 7 minutes, where they were having meaningful conversations with those people to understand what's going on with the company, what's the corporate objectives, how you're looking to do this. And it was more of a consultative sell. So again, Kirsten, I know that's a long-winded answer, but it really depends on the product, whether it's a low value or a high value product. But that's my 2 cents. And before I open it up, how does that land, dude?
Yeah, like these are the sort of questions I was asking, like what sort of industry, what's like your sort of other SDR/BDRs doing? Are they achieving that? What are their numbers looking like? I even said, like, have you had a conversation with management to kind of explain what works for you or where you see success and stuff? And I think they were like, I'm trying to, but they were kind of like, my managers just kind of sees high volume, hit your numbers and book meetings. Like, they don't really want to go into the nitty gritty. And I went, listen, it's for some people, it's not for other people. But it kind of led on to the conversation of they then felt they were more maybe aligned to the likes of like account management or like a CSM or something, because I said, what matters to you? Like, what do you actually care about? And they were like, I care about like being personalised and sort of building and nurturing relationships. And I said CSM might be worth looking into because you still have that sort of upsell sales side of things depending on your product or your industry, but you can have your own sort of block of your own customers that you'll speak to quarterly, monthly, fortnightly, whatever it may be, where you can build that relationship up, still have that personalised touch, but you still have the sales aspect. So I think they were like, I might look into that a little bit more and see if it's more suited for me. But I went, look, you're not a failure in what you think. Like something, I was like, you can only, not only be really good at something, but you can only really put 110% effort into something if you're proper aligned with it and you proper believe in it. And I kind of got the vibe of, I don't really agree with this method of working. And that's why I was kind of like, look, do what's best for you. Look into this. It might be something more suited to you. And that's kind of why I wanted to ask the question, because I don't know if anyone else has ever felt that way or sort of